You scroll online, you see couples smiling, thriving, doing it right. And you start thinking, why doesn't my relationship feel that way? Right? Are we doing something wrong? You know, should our relationship look more like theirs? But the truth is, comparison will kill your connection much faster than anything you guys are arguing about. So I'm gonna break down for you in this video right now why you need to stop comparing your relationship to others. But before we get to why you should not compare your relationship to others, let's talk about why we do, right? Why do we compare? Well, because it's natural. We want reassurance that we're doing it the right way, right? Like, who wants to do it wrong, right? Especially if something feels off and you're not sure if you are doing it the right way. So we look at social media, right? We look at our friends' relationships, podcasts, or that couple that never seems to argue, right? Things that seem so perfect. And we're like, how do they do it? But see, here's the problem. You're comparing a behind the scenes bond, right, in your relationship to someone else's highlight reel, because you can't possibly get to see everything that happens behind closed doors with them unless they live a life, or maybe they're vloggers or something that chooses to show you all that. So you don't get the full picture, right? And understandably so, somewhat, right? One, people don't want to represent themselves or their relationships in a bad light necessarily. And it's not fun to post things when you're going through the rough stuff, right? You usually post things you're excited about, happy about. And then there's some couples that are just, living a lie, right? They just want it to look good on the surface because they want to delude themselves into thinking that it's not as bad as it is, or they feel insecure and don't want other people to see that it's really that bad, right? So even for the relationships that actually do have the best of intentions when they post these things, or people that post these things about their relationships, or the ones that are doing it from an unhealthy space, you're not getting the whole puzzle. That's the point. A loving relationship doesn't thrive under spotlights, right? No, it thrives in your specific reality that you're living. See, whenever you get into the habit of comparing your relationship to others, what's happening is that comparison starts to create insecurity, right? Because you start focusing on all the things that your relationship lacks instead of what it has. And but yes, you need to be aware of the problems. Don't just, act like they're not there or be blind to them. But the moment you get hyper focused on, because where focus goes, energy flows, and that's what grows. The more you get hyper focused on the problems, you're never focusing on what you want. You're focusing on what you don't want. You're not focusing on the things that you have to be grateful for. That helps keep the positive mentality and positive emotions so you can deal with the issues more productively, right? It taints that. You slip more to a pessimistic way of thinking, and all you can think about is how everything's so wrong and bad, and it snowballs in your mind, and then you become literally a sabotaging piece to your own equation. Then you start to question your partner's love because it doesn't look like someone else's version of it, right? Because you're basing your model off of what's working for someone else. So where, yes, maybe there's some relatability, maybe it could work for you as well. But the more you start isolating to that's the way that love is supposed to look, you cut off the ability for you to see and perceive and be aware and acknowledge that your partner does love you. They just love you in a different way. Now, I'm not saying that, hey, just because they love you in a different way, it gives a pass if you don't feel loved at all, right? To where maybe they're dropping the ball at loving you. But it's real easy to slip into not being able to be grateful for, appreciate, or notice that your partner does care when you're locked into it, looking a certain way from something you've seen in a relationship that's not your own. And a big piece that creates insecurity from comparison is you can start to overlook your own growth because you're getting caught up chasing an aesthetic instead of alignment, right? You're so busy trying to make sure your relationship dynamic looks like that ideal, packaging you've seen online or whatever, that you're not even giving validation and credit to yourself and maybe even your partner for the leaps and bounds you guys have made from where you were to where you can't enjoy your journey and celebrate your wins along the way, which helps give you fuel to propel you forward to keep fighting to get to the finish line or get to the goal that you have, right? And so whenever you're so locked into it looking a certain way, you can easily overlook things that you have to be grateful for and appreciative of in the moment. so that you can actually enjoy them in real time and you can feel better while you're trying to get to your goal versus only feeling good when you feel like getting closer to what the aesthetic looks like. And sometimes, or actually a lot of times, when you're getting to the aesthetic that you've seen someone else put up for their relationship, you're not going to be aligned when you get there because you're doing it based off of their version, not how yours will uniquely craft for you. Yes, maybe there'll be some similarities to the way you would craft it to the way they've done it, but it's less likely to be exactly like that. Simply put, you never need a relationship that looks like theirs. You need one that's right for you. What does that look like? See, a lot of people don't even decide, what does my relationship looking the right way look like? You know, how many times I'm on consultations with potential clients and so forth before they join and work with me and all that. And they can paint these vivid pictures of all the things they don't want and how they don't want this going forward. But when I ask them to paint me a day in the life of vision of what you do want, they stumble, they get stuck. You know, it's hard for them to craft tangible things. They say real basic stuff because they don't spend enough time getting clear on what should it look like for me. So you have to break the habit of comparison. And you do this first by knowing your relationship blueprint, what works for your dynamic, your peace, your personalities. So ultimately, define your own standards that works for you and your partner specifically and custom made, not Instagrams. But the second thing I want you to do, though, is learn from others. Do learn from them, just don't copy them. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with taking notes from a healthy couple or advice online, right? That makes sense to you. But you take what fits for your situation and apply it to where you're at with your values and your season between you and your partner. Don't try to replicate what they do or what they've done to the T to impress others or to fit whatever that mold look like. It should be custom made for you. And the third thing, turn curiosity inward, meaning instead of always asking yourself, why don't we do that like they do, right? Ask yourself, what do we do that makes us strong? Meaning identify what you guys are great at in your relationship that maybe other relationships are not and build around that, cultivate that, right? Working your strengths and then it'll help you deal with your weaknesses, right? Because where you're strong at, that's where your power is, right? That's where your ability to craft your amazing relationship lives because it's built off of the things that brings out the best in you guys, makes you guys awesome as a unit, and even as individuals coming together as a unit. Look, the strongest relationships are never built from someone else's playbook, no matter who wants to say that or try to push that, right? But they're built from alignment, communication, and two people both getting what they need, right? Not what everyone else or someone else says they should want. Your relationship is not supposed to be theirs. It's supposed to be yours. So stop comparing and start connecting. You connect best when you get clear on what works for you two best, not for anyone else. If you or you and your partner need direct help on getting you guys' frame together and figuring out what works for you guys and what's best for your relationship and the standards and the rule book you guys should be operating by, then email or DM me the word coaching and we will get to work only if you are truly ready to put that work in. If you're not ready for one-on-one coaching, the time, space, or maybe even the resources for that, then at least email or DM me the word transformation, and I'll send you the link to my transformation course, my relationship renewal course, more particularly, that will teach you all the things I teach my clients one-on-one about relationships and how to build the healthiest ones and work through the conflict and all the things you need to know at your own pace, on your own time, at a resource level more fit for where you are right now. But I want to do something different here. I want to go a step further for people that don't have the resources at all to do this and still make it educational for everyone else. So if that is you, I want you to send me an email to the email address you see on the screen right here, right? And title it My Story. And what I'm going to do is, and you can stay anonymous, by the way, let me say that. You send me the email of your situation, what you have going on, because a lot of times people try to DM me their stories. I just don't have time to read all of them. So this is your opportunity to do so. And at the end of that, let me know what your obstacle you're facing with this situation is and what outcome you would like to get, what kind of help you're looking for. And what I'll do is I'll read that story on here for everyone to hear for those that are dealing with a similar situation. And I'll give you the action steps and a game plan that you can use to improve your circumstance or to help resolve your issue so that whoever else is dealing with the same kind of circumstance, they can get value from that same video as well to help them also, right? So if anything, take that option to let me help you in that way, or the other ones I always try to offer to get you guys the results that you need. Either way, do something to get in the race. Let's get it.